Welcome back to Sawyer Ridge Farm. I'm Jacob. Today's video, it's a special video for me. It's gonna be a build video, and I think a lot of y'all are gonna like it, and I think it's gonna help a lot of y'all out. At least I know it's gonna help us for sure. I've been wanting to build this for a very long time. I've been trying to think of a design that's good and it's gonna last, and it's just gonna make it where it's as less headache as possible. I'll explain a lot of it at the end because it's just going to make things a lot easier than me telling you right now. But kind of the gist of it is I'm going to build somewhat of a rabbit hutch, a little bit different though, kind of. You just kind of got to stay tuned and watch. But what it's going to do is it's going to be out in the garden, and I'm going to pull it on the garden, and the poop's going to go on the garden. That's pretty much to kind of sum everything up is what it's going to be. So definitely, if you have rabbits, this is probably going to be geared towards you. If y'all have a garden, I'd probably get some rabbits and maybe do something like this, and it'll help fertilize your garden. But I'm going to get it to building. Whenever I get it built, I'll really go into detail on size and why I did what I did, because I thought about this a lot. So I don't want to repeat it multiple times. I just want to do it all at once. So stay tuned kind of towards the end, and I'll explain everything. Put a brace in the middle. Alright y'all, we are going to be finishing up this build. Now one thing I will say, the footage that you've seen previously before this part was actually filmed, probably a couple months ago. We were actually in the process of building this whenever my parents needed help, and we took a little break, and so now we're getting back on it, and we're going to be finishing it. That's why the weather and my clothes are a little bit different, but just wanted to let you all know that we're going to be finishing up. And right now I'm going to talk about the whole design and what my thought process is for all this. So if y'all are really interested in building this, you'll know exactly why I made the measurements and why I did exactly what I did. So let me go into depth in exactly why I built it this way. All right, y'all, so the actual dimensions of this is 16 and it's 3 feet kind of in depth. Now the reason for that is what I'm going to be doing is our previous cages that we built, and we have a video of that, they're 15 feet by 2 feet. And so with that, we're going to be taking one of those cages and it's going to just slide right in here, and we'll strap it down to make sure it's good. But it's going to rest on these rebar, and the reason to make it a foot a little bit wider and more in depth is because the poop is not going to be able to hang up on anything. It's going to be sitting out here 6 inches from each side and from the ends. So it's only going to be resting on these rebar. Now I may have to put an extra one, we'll just have to see. But that makes it to where there's no corners, there's no wood. The poop will just literally fall and it's not going to get hung up anywhere. If you have seen other hutches and stuff, the wood, if there's a corner or if it's sitting on something, that's where they like to poop, and that's where it's going to sit up on. So that's why I built it that way, because it's just going to sit on this. And I didn't want to make it any much taller. I wanted to make it a little bit shorter because I don't want this thing to be like an umbrella and get flown away. So I tried to make it as short as I could, but still have enough room, because we're going to be taking this in and out most of the time. Because when I originally thought of this was going to be more of a winter setup to put on the garden. Now once we have them in here, we have this chain right here, and what it's going to do is they'll be in here and you'll have this positioned a certain way. Like right now this would be the winter because that's the north, and so it blocks them from the north wind. And this is going to go in this garden right here, and they're just going to poop on the actual garden pretty much all winter is what it is. And that will just add fertilizer, because the thing I realized is with the rabbit manure, you're always having to shovel it all the time. You're shoveling it and you're always bringing it over to the garden all the time. So why not just bring the rabbits to the garden and have them literally poop on the garden, and so you don't have to do as much work. That's kind of the whole concept of this right now. So you have this chain, and just every however many days you just kind of here and just kind of pull it. You just got to pull it just a few feet. You don't got to pull it very much. Now this isn't very heavy, but once you put the rabbits in there, it may be a little bit heavy, but you could hook it to like a 4-wheeler and just, you don't have to pull it very much. And so that's really the big thing about this, is just not having to pick up the poop, and you are fertilizing your garden without having to do anything. But right now we're actually going to be putting them on this year. We're not going to make this winter. I started to think about it, and that's another thing. This year with the in-ground garden, we're not going to be planting in that. Right now I put some hay beans out, which are kind of like legumes, and that will put nitrogen back in the ground. And so we're just going to have the rabbits go on this pretty much the whole summer, because we're really low in nitrogen in our soil. So that's the reason we're going to be doing that. We're not going to be doing the garden just because it was a real pain last year toting water, and it really was a really big inconvenience for us, and we're really trying to build our infrastructure right now, and so that's going to free up a little bit of time in doing that. We still will be doing the raised bed garden, but that's why we're going to be putting the rabbits on right now instead of waiting till the summer, or the winter, we can just do it right now. But so we're gonna right now put the roof on top, and then we're gonna put the sides on. Another thing with the design is over here, because I had to have some bracing right here. Now this is stuff right here, and also the skids. This is actually, I put PVC pipe on top of these 2x4s right here. And so what that's gonna happen is the cage is gonna be here, and when they poop and pee, it'll hit this, and it'll be more likely to slide off, and it protects the wood. So I just ripped the pipe in half, stuck them on there, and that's gonna protect the wood a lot better than just having it sit there. And it's also a rounded surface, so it'll roll off and it won't build up on top of that 2x4 and make it rot. So that's the whole purpose of doing that. I think it's gonna really help out a lot. But right now, let's get the roof on, let's put the sides on, and then we'll try to go get one of them cages and stick it in here so you can actually visualize what I'm talking about. All right, so we got the roof on and we got the back on. Now I moved this the way where it's gonna be. So the back is south facing. That's kind of, you know, the sun comes across, and so we want them to be blocked from the sun. Now the sides, I do have sides. I built them because I was thinking of this like as winter, and so it'd be a wind block. But I don't know, I just have to see how the sun, you know, goes, if they're actually gonna get hit with the sun on the sides. I don't think they are, but I'm gonna watch very carefully because I want them to have, there needs to be airflow. Now, if I do see that they are kind of getting sun over here, what I'm gonna do, and this is just something for y'all to know if you run into the same thing, over here, I'm gonna put sides on it, but I'm gonna bring them up probably maybe 8-10 inches or so, just kind of bring them up a little bit to where the boards are coming up on this side. So it's gonna block the sun, but it'll still let air come underneath, and they're not really gonna get direct sun at them because it's gonna be blocking from here, but they'll still get air underneath it. That is just, I'm just gonna have to see how the sun goes throughout the day, if they're actually gonna be getting sun on them. I don't think so, but I'm gonna watch very carefully because you do not want your rabbits to overheat, and they do need a good amount of airflow. It just helps a lot when you get in those really hot summer months that we have here in Oklahoma. Now we are gonna go get the cage, and we're gonna stick it in here, and then you'll really, if you haven't kind of seen it in your head already, you'll really see it whenever we stick it in there. And I'll probably explain a little bit more on the design and just kind of wrap it up.
I'm walking sideways.
All right, so we got the all the rabbits in here. So what we did to tie them down was just for now we just put some baling wire on the rebar. Now I know that's going to rust and it's going to break at some point, but just for right now to lock that cage on this, we'll probably do maybe like a ratchet strap over the top to where it'll be easy to take on, take off, and the rabbits won't be able to kind of chew on that because it'll be higher up. We really like how it came out. Another thing that I didn't say, the skids are actually 6 feet long, and the reason why I did that because I wanted a good stability, so if the winds came in, it wouldn't completely be kind of top heavy and flip over. That's why we left a little bit of a gap here on the top, is for wind to kind of pass through, so it's less likely to kind of pick it up. And if it does somewhat pick it up, those skids are long enough, it should brace it well enough. But another thing with the chains, we put eye bolts here on the skids, and we also have another set on the other side. And the other side is how we'll probably kind of pull it, or we'll push it back to the garden and pull it with a four-wheeler. Now I will say this, after getting all this on here and trying to pull it with me, it's very hard. It's very heavy. Building it out of 2x4s, I was pulling it before and it didn't seem that heavy, but once I put the tin on and once I put the back on and the rabbits in, it really kind of weighed it down. So we're probably kind of definitely, to make things easier, pull it with the four-wheeler. So I will say, if y'all are building this, the reason why I built it to this size is because we already had these cages and I didn't want to build a whole nother set of cages. I just wanted to kind of repurpose this so we're not spending a lot more money. All this stuff is kind of recycled stuff. I didn't really have to buy a whole lot other than I think paint. So that was one of the reasons why I built it this size, is because I really wanted just to reuse this cage that's over there. I don't need a bunch of cages because we have, a certain amount of rabbits. So if y'all are building this, and I would suggest maybe smaller cages if you have them, because that might make it a little bit easier for you to move them around. And another thing with ours is this, literally 2 passes will do our whole garden pretty much. I can pull it this way, slide it over, and then pull it the other way, and it pretty much almost gets all of it. So that was another reason why we did it this way. But I will just say, keep in the background of weight. I was trying to, but it just got heavy. So whenever you're building it, think maybe not using 2x4s, maybe using something a little bit less. I may try to switch the back up here. Some of it's kind of like plywood and that's kind of heavy. So I may try to tinker with it a little bit to make it a little bit less heavier and just try to figure that out. But I'm really excited on the way it looks and just the purpose of this. It just will make things a lot easier in the sense of not having to shovel the poop, stick it in a bag or in a wheelbarrow and bring it over here, dump it here. It's just all going to be here. All I got to do is just scoot this however often I want to, and then we have free range chickens and they'll come in here and kind of scratch at the poop, and then this will bring in a lot of worms in the garden. I think it's really one of the best ways to kind of fertilize a garden if you're not, of course, if you're not gardening in it. But guys, if you really like this design, put it down in the comments and everything. And I'll leave a link to it's a university study about rabbit manure that's very interesting. If y'all have never used rabbit manure as fertilizer in your garden, I'll leave a little link for that, and it'll explain a lot so you can kind of get a little schooled up on how good rabbit manure is for gardening and planting and such of everything like that. So leave it down in the comments, hit the like button, and if you're not subscribed to our channel, we please ask you to subscribe and hit that bell for notifications that notifies you of new content that we put out, videos, and you can be the first ones to watch. But y'all, take care and God bless.